This call is from a federal prison.
Lil Durk has found a way to speak despite being locked up, using his music to send a message that has everyone talking with legal battles looming and his future uncertain. This latest move could shift everything. But what is he really saying? Is this a hint at what's next? A warning to his enemies? Or a move to control the narrative? Let's find out Lil Durk's message. Lil Durk's latest album, Deep Thoughts, arrives under extraordinary circumstances, released on March 28, 2025, while the Chicago rapper sits in a Los Angeles jail cell awaiting trial for federal murder for hire charges. The project serves as both a creative lifeline and a strategic maneuver, facing allegations of orchestrating the 2022 killing of rival rapper Quando Rondo, and a separate gang-related hit in Chicago. Durk's team crafted the 17-track album entirely through prison phone calls. This unconventional process documented in a gritty mini-film, splicing studio sessions with news clips of his arrest shows producers holding phones to studio monitors as Durk records versus monitored prison calls. This guerrilla-style recording method forced a minimalist approach, no lush vocal layering or experimental production, just raw vocals over beats approved remotely.
Call is from a federal prison.
We in here, we got
Hello,
yeah,
y'all the lab.
we in the studio, we in this motherfucker getting to it, boy. We gonna roll out and got everything.
But beneath the surface of melodic trap anthems and collaborations with heavyweights like Future and Jane Ayeko lies a deeper narrative, a carefully curated message meant to sustain his legacy, play the streets, and perhaps even sway public opinion ahead of his October 2024 trial. Deep Thoughts is unmistakably shaped by the threat of life imprisonment. Lyrics undergo heavy self-censorship, with violent lines scrubbed or bleeped to avoid courtroom ammunition on 1,00 times. A leaked version's explicit threat, "I'ma kill him, and I shoot him dead for any child of mine," is conspicuously absent. Similarly, vanish mode censors words like gun and three, a baffling choice that fans speculate stems from legal paranoia rather than moral policing. People dissected the album, noting the sanitization, with some criticizing the project as watered down compared to past rock confessional tracks like 7220's Pico Coat or The Voice Head Taps. Others, however, see the restraint as necessary, pointing out that rapping about bodies isn't exactly an option when the feds are listening. This tension between authenticity and self-preservation defines the album. Tracks like Monitoring Me nod to surveillance, with lines about tapped phones and paranoia, while Opportunist positions Durk as a hardened survivor navigating betrayal. Yet these moments feel measured, avoiding specifics that could implicate him. The album's features are equally strategic. Future's presence on They Want to Be You injects street credibility without legal risk, while Jane Ayeko's soulful hook on Can't Hide It softens Durk's image with themes of vulnerability, a clear contrast to the cold-blooded persona prosecutors alleged. Even the AI-generated cover art depicting a shadowy figure in a stylized self avoids real prison imagery, symbolizing Durk's attempt to control his narrative without exposing his reality. The album has split Durk's fan base. Some lament the absence of unfiltered street storytelling, craving the pain songs that once made him a drill music pioneer. Others question the ship, asking where the moment of truth energy is, referencing his 2021 track about his brother's murder. Some, however, praise Deep Thoughts as a mature evolution, highlighting introspective cuts like Notebook, No Hook, where Durk reflects on fatherhood and loss over minimalist piano loops. Leaks further complicated the rollout. Tracks like Discontinuing Walk Art and references to a scrapped Sabrina feature fueled speculation about a more provocative original version. Fans noticed that the final product felt rushed, with abrupt edits and underdeveloped ideas, suggesting last-minute legal vetting. Some pointed to the jarring bleeps and reworked verses as signs that lawyers had picked through it. Despite these flaws, loyalists argue the album's mere existence is a triumph, noting that he is fighting for his life while still delivering music, and calling it a grind worth respecting. Every part of Deep Thoughts seems to serve two purposes: songs about loyalty and betrayal like Thank You Glowed speak to both the streets and the courtroom, casting Durk as a careful leader surrounded by snakes. Tracks like Alhamdulillah and Deep Depression focus on redemption and mental health, making him more relatable ahead of trial. even the documentary scenes play a role, showing him as a devoted father far from the kingpin prosecutors paint him as. It's like a high-stakes game where every move matters. This balancing act mirrors strategy seen in fellow rapper Young Thug's RICO case, where music releases during trial kept his name culturally relevant. Durk's team seems to follow this playbook, using the album to maintain streaming numbers and public sympathy. However, the stakes are higher, with federal charges carrying life sentences. Deep Thoughts might be Durk's final musical statement or the foundation of a comeback. If acquitted, the album's legacy depends on October's trial. A conviction could make Deep Thoughts a tragic farewell, its warning seen as foreshadowing. An acquittal might turn it into a story of resilience, with Durk shaping his struggles into legend. For now, he stands between two worlds: the streets that made him and the courtroom that could end him. While Deep Thoughts is making waves, the bigger question lingers. How did a murder for hire plot land him behind bars in the first place? Indictment in murder for hire plot in October 2020. Four Grammy-winning Chicago rapper Lil Durk was arrested in Broward County, Florida, on federal charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire. The indictment accuses him of orchestrating a 2022 shooting in Los Angeles targeting rapper Quando Rondo, a rival linked to the 2020 death of Durk's protege King Von. The attack, intended to kill Quando, instead killed his cousin Savia Lil Pab Robinson, who was riding in the same vehicle. Prosecutors alleged that Durk funded the operation through his rap collective, offering money and lucrative music opportunities to those willing to carry out the hit. The case stems from long-standing tensions between Durk's crew and Quando's associates. In 2020, King Von died in a shootout involving Quando's crew in Atlanta, though charges against Quando's affiliate were later dropped. Federal agents claim Durk sought revenge, leading to the 2022 plot. The prosecution's case relies on three main pillars, starting with financial records. Investigators linked F-connected credit cards to travel, hotels, and rental cars used by the alleged hitman, tying Durk to the conspiracy. Flight records further reveal that the shooters traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles just days before the attack, with expenses traced back to F accounts. The second pillar is digital evidence. Prosecutors have over 230 gigabytes of wiretap calls, text messages, and social media posts, which they claim contain coded discussions about the plot. They argue that phrases like "smoke that boy" and "handle business" were references to the planned hit. A 2023 FBI affidavit from an unrelated Chicago case further alleges that Durk sought retaliation for his brother Dante Banks' 2021 murder, offering payments to target suspected gangster Disciples members. This affidavit was used to deny Durk bail, portraying him as an ongoing threat. The third pillar is witness testimony. Federal documents mention unnamed cooperators, including one alleged shooter who turned informant to avoid a life sentence. These witnesses reportedly link Durk to the planning stages of the hit, though their credibility has yet to be tested in court. Durk faces steep odds in a system where 99% of cases end in guilty pleas or convictions. Several factors work against him. Conspiracy charges mean he can be held just as responsible as those who carried out the crime. Firearm enhancements add mandatory minimum sentences, with one charge involving possession of a machine gun during a violent crime. Prosecutors also argue he's a flight risk, pointing to 3 booked but unused flights to Dubai, Italy, and Switzerland after his associates were arrested. His trial, initially set for January 2025, was delayed to October 2025 after both sides agreed the case was unusually complex. The defense will likely argue that Durk's name was misused on credit cards without his direct involvement, and that coded language in messages is artistic expression, not criminal intent. Unsealed court documents reveal a second alleged murder for hire plot in Chicago from 2022, where Durk reportedly sought revenge for his brother's death. Though not charged in this case, prosecutors used it to argue Durk's pattern of violence and secure pre-trial detention. The affidavit cites texts discussing payments for the murder of Stephen Mack, a suspected gangster Disciples leader. This parallel case complicates Durk's defense, as jurors may view it as evidence of a broader criminal mindset. Durk's case fuels ongoing debates about rap lyrics being used in court. Prosecutors plan to introduce his lyrics as evidence, a move criticized by experts like Eric Nielsen, who argues that artistic expression is being weaponized. Lines like, "I'll pay $1 million just to see him dead," could be presented as confessions rather than creative storytelling. Politically, the fallout has been swift. Durk's $150,000 donation to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's campaign faced backlash, with critics calling for its return. Meanwhile, suburbs like Broadview quickly revoked honorary keys to the city that had been awarded just weeks before his arrest, marking a rapid decline in his once celebrated public image. The hip-hop community is split. Supporters argue the case is circumstantial, pointing to Durk's lack of a violent criminal record and the absence of a smoking gun tying him directly to the shooting. Others see the indictment as inevitable given F's ties to Chicago's drill rap scene and Durk's lyrical focus on street life. His arrest has already sent ripples through the industry. Deep Thoughts features tracks like Prayers Up and Untouchable, which fans see as references to his legal troubles. Meanwhile, high-profile collaborators like Drake and J. Cole have stayed silent, distancing themselves from the controversy. Durk's fate depends on three possible scenarios. A plea deal is the most common outcome in federal cases, potentially reducing his sentence to 20-30 years if he accepts responsibility. A trial conviction could mean life in prison given the severity of the charges and strict federal sentencing guidelines. An acquittal is highly unlikely, but his legal team could challenge the credibility of witnesses or weaknesses in the digital evidence to create reasonable doubt. Durk's trial will decide more than just his freedom. If convicted, he becomes another example of rap lyrics being used as evidence. If acquitted, it fuels the argument that the system targets hip-hop artists. With the trial set for October 2025, the stakes couldn't be higher. While Durk is now indicted in a murder-for-hire plot, this isn't the first time his name has been tied to controversy. Past controversies. Lil Durk's career is caught between street life and rap fame, with both pulling him in different directions, from family struggles to long-standing feuds. His story shows how drill music's talk of loyalty and violence doesn't just stay in the lyrics, it plays out in real life. In 2023, Durk faced a bombshell allegation. His 10-year-old son and the child's mother were accused of shooting her boyfriend 6 times.
Durk's son is watching all this. He's trying to get the gun out of her hand. The gun off his hip drops, and the son picks up the gun and shoots him in the stomach.
Though no charges were filed, the incident went viral, with fans dissecting its ties to Durk's music. Social media exploded with jokes about how Durk might reference the event in a song, with users creating lyrics like, "Growing up in the trenches was tough, but it wasn't that bad. Had a sit down with my son, he shot his stepdad." Others quipped that the boy was baby threat, a nod to Chicago's violent youth culture. Critics called it a tragic example of how children in drill-centric environments normalize conflict, while supporters dismissed it as a private family matter. Either way, the incident became a symbol of how Durk's music, steeped in revenge and street codes, blurs with his personal life. Durk's rivalry with Chief Keef, Chicago's drill music pioneer, began in 2013 after Durk's arrest on gun charges. Keef allegedly refused to pay his $10,000 bail. Durk retaliated on Twitter, writing "GB, targeting Keef's crew, and you'd be dead if it wasn't for 300, a reference to their shared 300 gang ties. Though they briefly reconciled, tensions reignited in 2015 when Durk dissed Keef on the Shurik remix, "This Say Me" and "Sosa Beefing, But We Both Eaten, Only One Keeping." Fans interpreted this as Durk mocking Kez, baiting relevance. Keef retaliated by backing Tiger and Game's diss track against Durk, further fracturing their relationship behind the scenes. The feud exposed a divide: Durk's push for mainstream success versus Kez's loyalty to Chicago's unfiltered drill scene. People were quick to note how Durk avoided direct collaboration with Keef, unlike peers like Lil Reese, and speculated that industry ambitions drove them apart. But that was not all. Durk's loyalty to his original block, Lamar 300, became a flashpoint. Members accused him of neglecting the neighborhood despite sending guns, cars, and money. The breaking point came after Durk's brother D-Tang was killed in 2014. Lamar 300 expected retaliation, But Durk focused on his career. Instead, the block labeled him a clout chaser, banning him from the neighborhood and releasing diss tracks. Durk fired back in songs like Jesse and OJ Rat's mocking former allies as snitches. People debated whether Durk's actions were justified. Some argued he outgrew street politics, while others called him a studio gangster who exploited his roots for fame. The fallout highlighted a harsh truth in drill culture: perceived disloyalty can erase years of support. King Von's 2020 death in a shootout allegedly involving NBA YoungBoy's crew ignited one of rap's most toxic feuds. Durk and YoungBoy, once collaborators, turned enemies. YoungBoy dropped "I hate YoungBoy," taunting Durk's grief, while Durk's "back in blood" hinted at revenge. The feud escalated on social media, with YoungBoy mocking Durk's parenting and legal issues. Fans split. Some saw it as genuine hatred, others as a publicity stunt. Reddit threads dissected Durk's silence on retaliation, with critics asking, if he's really about that life, why hasn't he slid for Von? Supporters argued that Durk was prioritizing his career and family. The feud underscored how personal loss and industry competition collide in hip-hop, where pain drives both art and profit. Chicago rapper 600 Breezy became a thorn in Durk's side, publicly criticizing him, questioning his loyalty to King Von's legacy, and accusing him of capitalizing on Van's death. Breezy suggested that if Von were still alive, he would have surpassed Durk in fame.
And you know what I'm saying, was living in a hellhole and came home and boom. He been King Von, but he became King Von to the world.
Yeah.
So he would have been bigger than Durk because he was moving too fast, too quick.
While Durk never directly responded, Breezy's repeated attacks painted him as someone trying to stir controversy for attention. Social media users noted how this feud mirrored drill's broader issue: artists using real trauma for clout. While some fans enjoyed the drama, others called it exploitative, arguing it perpetuates violence in already struggling communities. Durk's music has repeatedly landed him in legal jeopardy. Lyrics about shootings and revenge were cited in court cases, blurring the line between art and confession. Critics argued this validated concerns about the drill's influence, while supporters called it racial bias, citing how rock artists aren't punished for fictional lyrics. Fans and critics remain split on Durk's authenticity, with online debates dissecting his every move. Supporters point to his early mix-ups like "Signed to the Streets" and the loss of his brother as proof of his roots. Detractors, however, highlight his industry connections, luxury lifestyle, and lack of direct retaliation for Von as signs he's not as street as he claims. Even his philanthropy, such as scholarships for Chicago youth, sparks debate. Some see it as genuine giving back, while others view it as an attempt to buy. Lil Durk's career is a paradox. He's a father entangled in violence, a rapper accused of abandoning his block, and an artist whose lyrics haunt him legally. His feuds reveal rap's thin line between authenticity and performance. Meanwhile, legal battles over his music ask if artists can ever separate art from reality. While Durk has been embroiled in past controversies and remains entangled in new ones, the bigger question is what comes next for him amid the mounting legal and industry pressures. What's next for him? Lil Durk was once a titan of Chicago's drill scene and a chart-topping rap phenomenon. Now faces a defining chapter in his life as he navigates a labyrinth of federal charges that threaten to dismantle his career, freedom, and legacy. Indicted for murder for hire in connection with the 2022 killing of Lil Pab, a botched retaliation plot targeting rapper Quando Rondo. Durk's future hangs in the balance, with an October 2024 trial date looming. The rapper's legal team, career trajectory, and cultural imprint are under unprecedented strain. At the core of Durk's predicament is the federal murder for hire charge, which carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment, or in rare cases the death penalty. Prosecutors allege Durk financed the Los Angeles shooting through his F Collective using credit cards linked to the group to fund travel, weapons, and accommodations for the alleged hitman. The prosecution's case leans on a trove of evidence: over 230 gigabytes of digital data, financial records, and testimony from cooperating witnesses. Federal conviction rates exceeding 90% tilt the odds against Durk, leaving his attorneys with limited avenues. One plausible route is negotiating a plea deal to avoid a life sentence.
They're gonna come with 50 just to start off with.
50 years.
just to start off with. And if they blow that, they gonna go up. And if they blow that, it's gonna be like life. It's just gonna be life. I don't think they gonna death penalty nobody no more.
However, even a reduced charge could mandate 20-30 years due to the crime severity, and its fatal outcome, plea negotiations, would require Durk to admit culpability, a move that might preserve his life, but shatter his street persona. Alternatively, his team could contest the evidence, arguing that F associates acted independently, or that Durk's lyrics about violence were artistic expression, not criminal intent. This defense risks failure as courts increasingly permit rap lyrics as evidence. A trend, critics argue, criminalizes black artistry. A darker possibility is the case expanding into a RICO indictment, adding charges tied to gang activity and additional co-defendants. Such a move would mirror cases like Young Thug's ongoing trial in Atlanta, where prosecutors weaponized lyrics and affiliations to paint a broader conspiracy for Durk. A RICO charge would prolong proceedings, increase legal costs, and amplify the threat of lifetime incarceration. Durk's current reality is confinement in a federal detention center, denied bail due to perceived flight risk. Prosecutors highlighted his attempt to book international flights to Dubai, Italy, and Switzerland after associates were arrested, framing him as a fugitive threat. Without bail, Durk cannot directly oversee his music empire or F brand, forcing reliance on pre-recorded material and proxies. His 2025 album Deep Thoughts, released post-arrest, exemplifies this strategy. Project pieced together via prison phone calls and prior recordings. However, new music will lack promotional tours, viral videos, or industry events, stunting its commercial reach. Financially, the costs are staggering. Legal fees for federal defense attorneys often exceed $1 million.